You, sir, and you've got some documentation there. Thank you. Compulsive reading.
Impulsive or compulsive? Compulsive reading, okay.
Compulsive or compulsive?
No, everything, all of the above, Councillor Bevan.
You decide.
Page 53, councillors.
Page 53, and Mr. Williams, well aware of the process. 10 minutes, sir.
Yes, I'm going to...
and I will tell you when you have 2 minutes left.
I'm going to assume that the members can read, and
Yes.
Obviously they can, and so there's a substantial amount on the submissions, and so I would like to just run through a couple of additional attachments, and then I leave the first submission for the members to read through, to read the attachments
Okay.
inside. And
Your 10 minutes have started
I'll concentrate on the second submission, which was what we spoke about earlier, which is the wastewater ones, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And so, if you bear with me, I couldn't resist putting that little cartoon for the Dom on. Could you just go to the two photos immediately below there? They're immediately below your fish. The first one is self-explanatory. These were all taken when Cyclone Susie went through. And that photo was taken with a little snap camera, and then we bound it together. And you'll see it, that's the same photo there. Pretty devastating stuff. That is the area through there where most of the fish are dying when they do die. And there's reasons for that, which I won't go into today. It does involve the water, temperatures, springs, etc. So the fish tend to congregate there. They then get stressed when that comes on. They're already sick with EDCs, and so the mature fish develop fungal disease. And so you'll be hearing more about EDCs when we go on back to the trees. So, and anybody can talk to me about that. I'm quite open. But I'd like you to have a look at the second one. The second one, taken the same day. It's a pretty dramatic pair of photos. The bottom one is at the down towards Tom's end of the river and discharges above. That's the Papanui stream. You can see that. Nothing moves in it. When I came here, it was thriving with little fingerlings, native fish, everything. That is the Otani discharges into it. If you look to the top, that is the takeoff up at Waipoua, and you can see there, totally different river. It's a stream. It was diverted in the 18th century to bring water down into the Papanui area. But if you want to see an absolute destructive situation, go and have a look at that. It's there for your very eyes. So I've got a lot on DVD and commentary and that, but I'll let you have that when we get it properly cut. You'll find it generally interesting. There is a couple of other some bits on there, and they result to that. And on there I put the WAS of the St Hawke's Bay District Council. If you read through that, you'll find they've done absolutely nothing towards their writing that. So that is the document that they should have been going by, and they've thrown it out the window, but just so as NAPIT, etc., etc. So they're well worth a read. We've got problems, and they're ahead, and we're going to have to go back to the trees, and that's going to be a long drawn-out affair. And we haven't got a dog show of getting that sewage out the water because of that, but you can talk to me on that later. So, and I've taken the liberty. Alan responded well, and so did Kevin and Councillor Rose then, and they picked up my monitoring of Jervistown. And there's a letter there from Alan in which I put through things to him, and Alan did a good job of driving that through, getting plan change through, get it onto spuds, and I thank Alan for that. And there's quite a detail there. And that will do the link between some of the other stuff. So I hope you don't mind that I pop that on, but I think it's very relevant. So, and so with that, I'll pop over to the wastewater one and see if we can nip through that, because the end of it, I've got some very positive stuff of how we could get round the legal impasse, and that was the thing that I discussed with the chairman, and I would like to concentrate on that because we've got a legal impasse there. We need to get round it. There needs to be discussion, but at the moment the two worry across the road are retaining their seats. But we're going to have some positive stuff there, and so I'll just slip down to the on-site. Hope we got time, and. Yeah, well, I think we can do that. But you'll see on the back, A, B, C, D, E, they're positives, which I'd like members to concentrate on and throw in here if there's a couple of times a question, because we need to finance it, we need to get it moving, and they are some ideas that I've got. To assist this, I'm going to just scan down and take as read so we get to that part a little quicker. So, first paragraph. New members did ask for information. They didn't get it about Central Hawke's Bay. I was here when you asked for it, but you'll see now on the submission there's a list of Official Information Act questions. Have a close look at those. I didn't get it. Central Hawke's Bay today. Hawke's Bay District Council wanted to charge me $2,000 for information they hadn't got, which I thought was very generous of them. But those questions are very relevant. They weren't answered, so that's why you didn't get yours, because you never had the data. So now the officers' reports covers itself. The officers' reports say it's not strictly, and I've quoted two sections of the agenda which clearly make this relevant. So that's paragraph 3, and I've got copies of the thing. We've gone through that. It is the very first time that I've ever seen stormwater directly connected into sewage. It remains there. It's incredible. It's something from medieval times, apparently done in the 60s, 70s. When they had direct into the river, and all they were doing were actually letting it settle, and then the effluent went straight out into the river. So they've just put the storm water in. That still remains, and that's why you are getting the technical overloads of the plant. Is that understood? So that's a number one priority, to get that moving and get that fixed, because you will not stop that. That's a major problem. Right, I go on to infiltration. We've covered the photos, Papanui, and I've put the situation there. So we'll move on about some situation. Now, the officer's report to this submission requires 70% of residents to agree on reticulation. My legal advice on that has long since been no septic tanks are except under the Health Act, i.e. Waimara required to vacate when basic septic tanks were overwhelmed by rainfall. The Building Act requires connection to reticulated services if within 30 metres of a property boundary. And on you go there. Any or all could be applied to Jervistown and Miani and elsewhere in saturated ground conditions elect. I think the chairman...
2 minutes, Mr.
It was pretty grim when we looked at it, wasn't it? And so he could confirm it. Now, I just run through this A, B, C and D. In previous submissions, I've requested authorities to be required to identify their on-site sewage system type, age, forward information to Hawke's Bay Regional Council, accurate focus on... See, I've been pressing for that 10 years, it's not there. So that seems a basic thing that should be there. If you don't know what the problem is, how can you solve it? A ring-fence polluters charge repayable with interest for upgraded septic tanks or connection with a free consent for first term. I took this the stick or the carrot. Low interest loan payable on rates, which on sale of the house loan paid off an upgrade required. I believe health risk septic tanks should be classified the same as wood burners and the same criteria used for grants, etc. Hawke's Bay has funds for upgrades in septic tank service areas to tap into. The health risk is proven, which opens up government and health funding, as in UK, dollar for dollar on the projects that I worked on. They were dollar for dollar. And they were facilitated through the counties, which you are the equivalent of. So there needs to be a lot of thought done around there, because I think that is a pool waiting to be tapped into. We've got the connections, so the health authority, it's in their court, toss us some money from down the road. The impasse could be aided if Napier City Post 286 were purchased by Hawke's Bay region. This is quite innovative. And the NCC and reconditioned and sold to rural residents as a reduced break. What I'm suggesting there, finally, is that you get together, because we've got this impasse of a mixture of consented systems. We won't go into how that happened, but the majority are unconsented, high risk. So we've got this problem. One lot says we paid, we're not going on reticulation. So you can't solve the other one.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
So we've got to do some work in there and around that, and I'm suggesting you look at purchasing those on a job lot, reconditioning them, and ridding yourself on the problem, and then selling them back out into the rural areas at a reduced rate, reconditioned, because they're only 2-3 years old.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you very much for your very thoughtful submission. And good to see you back here again.
Well,
thank you.
No questions? Surely
no time, Mr. Williams. You know the rules. You push it every time.
Well, it's a two very big subjects.
It is.
And they need more than 10 minutes when you're talking to people that don't fully understand it, with due respect. I'm sure they would like to have had a bit of interchange there.
Thank you. And they would have.
I'm sure they've got that.
I'm sure they would have, sir. Right.
Well, if they're going to resolve it and stop issuing consents for discharges,
thank you, Mr. Williams.
Be a lot more discussion around it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Okay, let's. We're going to break for afternoon tea. If the other submitter was here, we'd continue, but she's not. Been and gone. So let's break for 10 or 15 minutes, and then one more submission, and I'm going to suggest we call it a day after that. So. Thank you. I'll adjourn for 15 minutes. Cheers.